Matt Day here with Parsons, Graham and Day. I got to ask, what's the difference between a divorce, a legal separation, and an annulment? Okay, a divorce is a dissolution, a termination of a marriage, right? At the end of a dissolution action, a divorce action, that marriage is gone, right? It is legally destroyed through the court system, and those parties are no longer married, all right? That is a divorce. We have to divide up property. We have to divide up debts. We have to figure out custody, visitation, child support, part of the decree that goes into it, all right? The parties were still married, and then they were divorced. The marriage ceased, right? Legal separation, the marriage remains intact. The parties are still married at the conclusion of a legal separation, but the court makes determination for what's going to happen with certain payments of debt. Is there going to be payment of alimony? They still figure out things like custody and visitation so that you have those orders while the parties are legally separated. It also has an impact on the ability of the parties to create indebtedness in terms of the marital estate. Court also has to determine what's going to happen with property and debt and custody and visitation, right? But it also sort of protects the parties in terms of debt, new debt that is created by one or both of the parties being part of the marital estate, all right? So legal separation, at the conclusion of it, the marriage survives. They just now have an order in place telling them how they're going to do and perform certain functions, right? An annulment, unlike the other two, right? In the other two, we have a valid marriage, and at the conclusion of that, that marriage still occurred, right? An annulment is where we say that marriage basically never existed, right? We hold it as a nullity, right? A non-thing. The marriage license gone. It's as if the parties were never married. Now, that obviously puts them in a different legal position than if they had been married. Frequently, annulments have to be based off of fraud. There's some trickery that happened to get one to marry the other, and they've now come in and said we need to annul this, right? We need to hold it as a nullity, as if there was no marriage at all. That's what happens at the end of it. The decree for an annulment says there was no marriage. Gone, as if it didn't happen, right? If that occurs, what if they are the parents of children and they were never married? Well, then, rather than falling under divorce statutes, then we start looking at the Uniform Parentage Act in terms of determining the father's rights and initial custody proceedings. So there is some impact there if that happens. But those are the differences. Divorce, a marriage, and we say that that marriage happened, and at the end of it, the marriage ceases to be. Legal separation, the marriage happened, we say that it happened, but at the end of it, the marriage still exists. An annulment, we act as if that marriage did not happen.
The purpose of this video is to be informative and not to provide legal advice. For legal advice, call a law firm and speak to an attorney about your particular case. None of the information provided in here is meant to establish the attorney-client relationship between Parsons, Graham and Day and anyone watching this video.